Hello, everybody. Pokekid here, and today I am here with Landon Frank. And how many championship points do you have approximately?
875.
Okay, well that's bigger than I thought. So so he's the number one player, and I'm like the number five or something. So I'm gonna be talking with him about Night March, which is like the number one deck in format right now. It won like 7 states and got second at seven, and no other deck actually even won three, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been looking through a couple different lists. For instance, Russell LePairs from Six Prizes, and he ran four Puzzle of Time, Gallade, and one Target Whistle. How do you think about that? Do you like Puzzle of Time or?
I think Puzzle Time's a pretty good card if you're not gonna be running Milotic. I feel like you wouldn't probably need it if you're running the Milotic, but I think it's a pretty good card in the deck. And then the Gallade's pretty good for consistency, and it helps in a few matchups definitely. Um,
Yeah, like Jolteon, because
yeah,
Jolteon can be a real big problem.
yeah. Gallade's really good for consistency. It's just it's pretty good because you can run it with because you're already running Trainer's Mail and Acro Bikes, so it's
Yeah,
pretty good.
and you pretty much just have to add Maxis and Gallade, and then you already have all the cards to run through it, so it's that simple.
Yeah,
And then Target Whistle's pretty good card. You can get Shaman and
yeah.
stuff.
It can definitely help in a lot of matchups. I like I'm a fan of a one of Target Whistle and Night March, so
Yeah, so
that's
am I.
a good card.
And then I also saw Ryan Stablehouses from 60 Cards, which ran a 1-1 line of Bronzong,
Mhm.
a Buddy Buddy Rescue, and didn't run Puzzle Time because he felt that he couldn't get two into his hand. But I feel if you run Gallade, then that's pretty simple because you can use Premonition.
Mhm.
The 1-1 Bronzong is interesting because the thing is can you can get back the he ran 3 metal,
Mhm.
and that helps against like size Giratina because you can't attach DCE.
Mhm.
How do you feel about Bronzong?
I think it's a pretty good card if you're expecting a lot of energy denial in your in your area. Like if people are running traditionally a lot of Zero-6 and like one or two enhanced hammers, I feel like Bronzong would be a pretty good card because you can almost, if you get the Bronzong out, you should almost always be able to get the energies. It's just it can be Lysandered up and knocked out, or Lysandered up and then you have to attach 3 energy to it to retreat. So
Yeah, I agree, and he mentioned that in his article because he only ran like one floatstone, so
hmm
that can be quite a problem.
yeah,
Um, I also saw Alex Hill's list from again 6 prizes, and he
hmm
ran melodic and no puzzle of time. And
yeah.
before you had mentioned that if you're running melodic, you don't really need to run puzzle of time.
hmm
And but which do you think is better, melodic or puzzle of time?
Um, I think and this is just preference, but I think it would be Puzzle of Time just because it's an item card and Milotic is a stage one that you have to bench down and can be easy prize cards against bats. So
Yeah, I agree. So do you think that Night March is the best deck in format? Let's just
I think it's either the best or I think it's the second best. There's a lot of decks in the metagame that have a pretty tough time against it, but there's a few decks that can definitely come close to beating it.
yeah,
Um yeah.
because most decks didn't even get like a winning record against Night March. Few actually. In states. Some of the decks that counter it. Well, what do you think? What are the decks that mainly counter it?
So I think what you have to do to be able to beat Night March is you have to be able. So like, I feel like a really good deck that can beat it is Trev
Yeah.
because you can if you get the turn on item lock, it's a really hard matchup for Night March. Um, I feel like if you run bats, you have like an okay, probably like a it helps a lot in the matchup if you have the bats. Um, and then also like denial, like Toad Slowking. I feel like that has a pretty good matchup, like probably like a 60-40 matchup against it if you can get the Quaking Punch up because you can just move their energies onto like something that they don't really want, like a Shaman. So
Yeah. Except one crazy thing about Night March is that it can actually get rolling. Unlike Vespi, it can get rolling without
yeah,
Shaman.
yeah, that's one thing about it.
Yeah. Except then you would just like pick a Joltik, pile a bunch of energy.
Yeah, if you put more than like one DCE on a Pokemon, it will still really hurt them
Yeah.
because yeah, they can't
So you
really.
need to get two
Yeah.
Slowking. What I have
Yeah.
to counter, yeah, it's the two big things is disruption and things that can take multiple prizes in one turn.
Yeah.
And in the disrupt section, there's like size Garantina, size Slowking, Trevenant, and like Vespiquen Vileplume, and Vespiquen Garantina.
Hmm.
And then the multiple prizes, we have Greninja, of course,
Yeah.
Trevenant, Manectric Bats, and Size Bats.
Yeah.
And none of those have like an auto win. Most of them
Hmm.
have like at least like a 50-50 matchup. Size Garantina is a bit worse though because
Yeah.
all you're running is the X's. Okay, next thing. Should you run Night March?
I think so. I know a lot of juniors. What they do is they see one big deck and they decide I want to play this, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that will be playing it. But I feel like you should probably try and counter Night March, either that or have a deck that has a 50-50 against Night March and can beat a few of the other decks that beat Night March. So you
Yeah.
have good matchups around the board.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like most of the better juniors will try to counter Night March. But what I want to do is pick a deck that can counter the obvious counters to Night March and have an okay matchup against Night March
Yeah.
because if you can pilot Night March correctly, yeah, it's the best deck and you should run it because it
Yeah.
doesn't have like a horrible matchup against anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what else do you think that we should mention about Night March?
um, I don't know. That is like really
Yeah,
that it can it it's only a one prize attacker. I guess that's one thing that's pretty big about it.
yeah. It's a one prize attacker and it just takes one attachment. Well, for
Yeah.
Pumpkaboo, you also need to mention Valley. One
Yeah.
also with against Trevenant, the bursting balloon is really hard.
Yeah, if you bursting balloon in a deck, helps a lot against Night March. Like because if they attack you, they can either have the option of because if they ever attack you, then they're probably gonna get knocked out
Yeah.
unless they have a Fighting Fury belt on them.
And now
But yeah,
that's a perfect transition into talking about Fighting Fury Belt. So,
yeah,
Fighting Fury Belt is like one of the newest additions to Night March besides Puzzle Time, and it's one of the best actually, because
Mhm.
it makes like your Joltik 70, and that actually I just went testing, and that like saves my life because it makes it 3 Silent Fears, which
yeah,
and that won me the game. And then it makes Pumpkaboo 100, which is really hard and
yeah.
crazy. Also, that extra 10 damage
Hmm.
is like critical because
Yeah,
it makes it so much easier to hit those like Mega Rays and Megmanectrics.
yeah. It definitely does.
Yeah, because before you needed like 11 in the discard, which is crazy because you can only run 12. But now
Yeah,
you can put 10, and yeah,
yeah,
that's still a bit of stretching it, but
yeah,
Megas are a bit of a pain.
yeah. It's yeah. like the only one that I'd say that really can like have a pretty good matchup against like the only mega deck that I'd say has a pretty good matchup that I can think of right now against Night March is probably Mega Manectric, just because it only takes 2 energies and you have rough seas, but still that's really good if you have do the 10 extra, then you only need 10. So
Yeah. Also, I would think that Mega Sceptile would have a pretty good
yeah,
matchup. Yeah, because you could
yeah,
heal off all the damage.
yeah, that would probably be another really good one too.
Yeah, and then also Sceptile, um, pretty much destroys Seismitoad.
Yeah,
So
and it's only 2 energies too, which helps.
so Sceptile would probably be a pretty good play right now.
Yeah, probably would be.
Yeah. Um. What do you think about Entei?
Um, I think it would be I think it'd be an okay play. It's just it like Toad's a hard matchup. I think Night March like versus it against Night March. If you can get 2 Assault Vests on yourself, it's pretty hard for Night March to knock out like two Entes that have like that they have to do 210 damage to knock them out. So I think I think that Entei would have an okay Night March matchup, if not a pretty good one, but still. Um, so I think it'd be an okay play, as it also beats Sceptile.
Yeah, and I forget how much health does Entei have? 120,
130.
130.
130.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that could be pretty hard for a Night March if they get off like even one Fighting Fury belt, because also with its attack, like
Yeah.
2 Fighting Fury belts would hurt them quite a bit, because 130 plus 80 is 210. Yeah,
Yeah. And you can and the Entei player, if the Night March player plays the Joltik down, the Entei player can even use Flame Screen,
yeah.
which can make it basically so Night March literally can't knock you out
So
if you have Soul Vests.
yeah, and Entei would also beat Sceptile.
Yeah, definitely.
Also back to Sceptile. Sceptile has a pretty good matchup against Garchomp because Garchomp has weakness.
Yeah.
Um, anything else? I think we kind of covered it.
Yeah. I think
So
that's a lot of meta. So